Congressional candidate for California's 43rd District and Navy veteran Joe Collins. Also with us, attorney and civil rights activist and Intercom radio host Robert Patillo. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Robert, I want to start with you. What do you think that the president should address during this conference?
Well, I think what the president has to address is many of the pressing issues of the country, primarily the need for comprehensive immigration reform, which has been pushed since for the last 30 years by Democrats, and they've run into roadblock after roadblock by Republicans who will not make it part of their agenda. I think he also has to talk about the AstraZeneca vaccine. He has to discuss the need for reform to stop mass shootings. I think there's a litany of issues that have to be addressed. The border crisis is one in a long list of emergencies that have been dropped into the president's lap as soon as he has walked into office. I think they are competently handling them in a way that the American people can feel confident
in. Joe, what do you think?
I think the president has to address the border situation. How can we allow people to start following the rules that has been in place for a very long time? What do we have to do in order to stop the illegal crossings? What do we have to do in order to mitigate? I think the president should apologize to the American people for incentivizing this immigration influx that we have to the United States. I think they're owed a really, really big apology. We also have to start addressing the mental health issue that we have here in America. The vaccine situation that needs to be addressed as well. I think more transparency from the White House is absolutely needed right now.
Robert, I want to give you a chance to respond because I think it's probably fair enough to say that it's unlikely that President Biden is going to apologize for anything. But I want you to respond to what Joe had to say. Do you think mental health will come up? Do you think he will take any responsibility for the influx of migrants that have been making it to the border at all?
Well, let's understand the influx of migrants is because of 40 years of failed policy, particularly by Republican administrations. Remember, it was in 1986 that Ronald Reagan had amnesty. It was
so at what point, though? But going back to that, at what point does this administration claim responsibility? And then again, what do you attribute to the record numbers that we're seeing now that we didn't see during the previous administration?
The record numbers that we are seeing now is the residual from the failures of the past administration to remedy the issue. They put a Band-Aid on it by simply criminalizing border crossings. What we have to have is a comprehensive solution, which does not simply kick the can down the road. Remember, we had an agreement in 2013 on immigration. Republicans walked away. We had an agreement in 2015 on immigration. Republicans walked away. We had an agreement in 2018 on immigration. Republicans walked away. There's a lot of kowtowing and hemming and hawing right now about this question of immigration reform, but Republicans have not put forward a plan that they would actually agree to on immigration. It seems they want to have their cake and eat it too. You have corporate Republicans who want cheap and free labor to, like what President Trump had at Mar-a-Lago and many of those other country clubs, but also we have hardline anti-immigration Republicans who think that we should be building a border wall. Republicans had 4 years to address these issues, and the minute they walked out the door, we had a flood at the gates. I don't think you can blame that on President Biden. President Biden, again, has to clean up a mess left by President Trump.
Well, we'll go into what some of these illegal immigrants have been saying, because they've been saying that the reason they're here is because of the current administration. And Joe, I'm going to give you a chance to respond to that. But first, I want to go to major border news, and that is the Biden administration is finally allowing the press into a border facility for the first time in over 2 months. But the catch is that the only crew that is allowed in is one reporter and a cameraman from NBC. And they will only be allowed into one of the so-called less crowded facilities. Senator Ted Cruz of Texas spoke out about the decision, saying that the administration, quote, handpicked a TV crew to accompany their trip to the Carrizo Springs, end quote. He says that's not true transparency. True transparency, according to him, would be to open the Donna facility to the press. That's at, these are his words, 556% capacity, with 18 senators go there on Friday. Joe, your response to what the senator had to say, and also to what Robert Patillo had to say, that Republicans are to blame for this, that this is just residual effects.
Well, I would say this in response to Senator Ted Cruz. I think he's right, but we all know that lack of transparency has been abundant within this administration ever since President Biden has taken office. He hasn't been able to answer questions, hasn't been allowed to answer questions from any press. He refuses to answer questions But, to Robert's point, I think I would have to somewhat agree and disagree at the same time. Republicans and Democrats have been absolutely unable to work together for a very long time. And I think that we need to get both sides to start working together. But we can't ignore the fact that when President Trump took office, he said that immigrants have 100 days to get to the United States and they'll be let in, which is why the majority of the border crisis is happening right now. When you talk about putting a Band-Aid over a situation, yes, President Trump did build a border wall. He did enforce immigration policies. He did put more money into ICE and Border Patrol. It's not a perfect solution, but it is a solution. What we have right now is no solution. So we can blame this president. We can blame the past administration, the Obama administration. We can go back and blame Ronald Reagan. The fact of the matter is we're having this problem now in 2021, and this problem has to be addressed by the Biden administration. We need a plan. The plan might not be perfect, but we need something.
Yeah, and I want to go into what the president's plan is. Again, we're going to talk about the vice president, but real quickly, Robert, if you could, because we have a lot to get to, your response to what Senator Ted Cruz had to say, is this really being transparent by only allowing one camera person, one reporter from this specific network to go into this specific facility?
There are things that I never do, one of which is agree with Ted Cruz. So I'm going to agree with Ted Cruz that this is absolutely not transparency. We have to allow a free and open press. You can't. The difference between Joe Biden with regards to Democrats is that we are fine with criticizing Joe Biden when he is wrong, and he is wrong on this one because you have to have a free and open press where people can know exactly what's going in. We don't need state-issued propaganda or state-issued media. What we need is the fourth estate to be able to hold the American officials accountable.
All right, we just heard, I never thought I'd hear that, so mark that down, everyone. He agrees with Senator Ted Cruz. Robert Patilli, you heard it right here on News On. Also, we just heard, what'd you say?
I said we can put on Ted Cruz's campaign sign. We'll see how that works out.
Yeah, let's see. All right, we also heard recently at a press conference yesterday that Vice President Kamala Harris will be the point person for border security. Take a look.
There's about 5 other major things she's handling, but I've asked her, the VP today, because she's the most qualified person to do it, to lead our efforts with Mexico and the Northern Triangle and the countries that help. We're going to need help in stemming the movement of so many folks stemming the migration to our southern border.
All right. In response to this, Arizona Governor Doug Ducey not so happy, saying that the vice president is about the worst possible choice for the job. Joe, is she the worst person for this job?
I would think so. The reason why is because we can't forget she was a senator in California, and California is a sanctuary state. I think that her having to be the point man for the border crisis is going to conflict with the policy position that she's been able to take for the last few years as a senator. So I think that we should have put someone with more experience with attacking border crisis than Kamala Harris, because she has been pro-sanctuary state her whole term as a senator in California.
Robert, I want you to be able to answer this question when we come back, but we are coming up against a commercial break. So I'm going to get your reaction to that. We're also posing this question to our viewers that are watching. Want to know, what do you think? Is she the right person for the job? Can she fix it? What are your thoughts? We're going to share one viewer's thoughts coming up. We're also going to tell you how you can share your voice about this issue. Still ahead, again, we're also going to be talking about this idea, the GOP introducing a bill talking about DNA testing. Could that help with the border situation? Interesting thought. We're going to share the details coming up right here on News On. We'll be right back.